we'd like to get your ideas about what practices are essential for highly functioning teams. And in particular, what do you wish the student teams in your classes would do that would make them more effective? Yeah.
Share expectations of the finished product.
Okay, so right up front, get clear on expectations of the finished product. So be explicit about that. Great.
Identify methods and modes of communication and adhere to those methods and modes.
Okay, so talk about how they're going to communicate and then do that. Like what kinds of methods and modes, for example?
Well, a lot of students like to use text messaging, but then they expect there to be a quick turnaround.
Okay.
Some students say it might take me 48 hours to get back. Get back to expectations, but specific to
Okay. So you might talk about we prefer text or group me, or we're just going to be speaking face to face, and the turnaround time. Okay, great. Yeah.
Meet early and often.
Meet early and often. Okay, so you would like frequent contact and have them get together as soon as they possibly can. Okay? A few more. What else would help? Yeah.
Commitment to group accountability.
Okay, so what does that look like? They make a commitment to group accountability. What do they do?
They lift each other up when one of them falls down.
Okay.
Go and intervene. Why? What's going on? How can we help you to do your part?
Okay, so if there's a group member who seems to be adrift, the others will reach out and pull them back in. So if you notice somebody, for example, who hasn't spoken in a while, there's an agreement that I will ask you what your ideas are, okay?
When someone gets really busy, somebody else carries the weight for them.
Okay, so maybe in a general sense, talking about roles and responsibilities up front, what you're actually committing to doing. Is that fair? So if somebody gets busy, part of the problem is they've overcommitted, but if we're clear up front about here's what I'm going to do in the group, that can help.
Well, I'd say midterms come around at different times.
Yeah.
And so some students just have a bad week.
Okay,
And the team doesn't collapse because other people took time.
okay,
What
great.
happens to the student that is just not engaging at all?
Okay.
So that's the answer.
So what is the behavior that needs to happen there? Yeah.
A colleague of mine uses, she actually instituted a mechanism to fire a team member.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so so you can have a mechanism to fire, and I think if you have that mechanism, wouldn't it be great if everybody knew that up front? That by the way, you can get fired here, and we're clear on why you could get fired. Okay, all right. So maybe a mechanism, like an explicit mechanism for managing the group membership. You're in or you're out. We can fire you. Okay. All right. So we have a great list here. It's certainly not a complete list, but you're saying about upfront defining expectations about what this group is, defining a common goal maybe, talking about how you're going to communicate, keeping in frequent contact, having means for group accountability and having everybody agree on those up front, defining roles and responsibilities, and then having a mechanism for managing group membership. In other words, we can fire you and here's how. There's some wisdom up there, and so we'd like you, instead of raising your hands, let's just stand up, take a little breather. If you believe that on this list there is some wisdom about what creates a highly functioning team, just stand up. You see it coming? So wouldn't it be awesome if all of our student teams did this, yes? Now, think about the affinity groups you've been working in for the last 2 days. If you applied all of these practices in your affinity group, please remain standing. If you do not apply all of these practices in your affinity group, please have a seat. Okay, they're all sitting down.
Okay, so the real focus of our team and the reason we did that exercise is that we know that there are a variety of techniques to manage effective teams or to create effective teams. But one of the things that we've decided is an important aspect of a true engineer is the ability to serve as an effective team member. So if you look at job announcements across the country that our students are applying for, that word being an effective team member or that phrase is often there on the job announcement. And it's something that is a necessary skill, we believe, for the engineer of the future. But one of the things that we saw as a disconnect or a gap in the way that we teach our students is this idea of teaching our students through an integrated process of how to be a good team member. And that means more than just practice, being a member of a team, but also needs to involve some feedback and development so that as a student participates in their initial team, they learn something about being a team member, they learn something about themselves, they learn how to reflect, they learn how to be critical of themselves and others so that they can improve their team membership in the next iteration, with the ultimate goal of creating a student or a cohort of students who are really good at being team members. And so what we're going to share with you here in the next couple of minutes are a few strategies that our team discussed that we think might be effective ways of really fostering the growth of good team members, good engineer team members. And so I'll start, since I'm up here, and mine here is integration of teamwork across the curriculum. And what we mean here by that is that we give the students some instruction of what it means to be a good team member up front. And then as the students participate as members in a team, we provide them with feedback and the opportunity to reflect and critique themselves. And as we go from step 1 to step 2, team 1 to team 2, we offer them opportunities to reflect along the way and grow as team members. So it involves 2 parts. 1, some instructions on the different techniques that make for good teaming, and the ability to reflect and improve from iteration to iteration, with the ultimate goal that they enter the workforce being excellent team members. Christoph?
As Matt hinted, our big dream is to teach team skills in such a way that they actually transfer, so that when our students end up in a situation like we did today, they will actually start off by applying good teaming techniques. They will create a team contract, they will establish how we're going to take turns, they will establish shared goals and shared accountability. However, being an effective team member is more than just developing the right attitude or learning a few tricks. Being a good team member is extremely context specific, depending on the makeup of your team, how time pressured your team is, how diverse your team is, and how large it is. You will need very different skills and behaviors to make your team succeed. And it's even more challenging because most of the time you will not be the team leader, you will be a team member, but you will still have a shared responsibility for the team's success. So how do you lead the team from the bottom up? How do you contribute to the team's success when it seems to need help? So the trouble is that because being a good team member is incredibly context specific, you need a lot of practice in recognizing situations in which the team needs your help, and practice with applying effective techniques to make your team work better. And you need way more practice than what our students currently get. They get maybe 1, 2, or 3 team experiences per year. They need probably 10 or 20. How can we give it to them? So our crazy idea is that perhaps we should learn from leadership training and crisis management training and create effective materials for role-playing activities in which students will have very frequent opportunities to experience diverse team situations and practice their abilities to do something interesting in those teams. And our even crazy idea builds on Cliff Nass's observation that people treat computers as social agents. So maybe we could even use computers as confederates in training students to become effective team members.
We also discussed in our team the importance of reflection on one's own experiences as a way of learning about teams. But we considered the fact that often we're throwing our students into these situations without much opportunity to reflect and with actually very little support. So we all tend to support our students when things are going terribly wrong, right? We deal with the team implosions. But that means that we may miss opportunities to support them before the problems become really big. And they're new at teams, and so they don't often know exactly what to do. So we thought another way to support students throughout the curriculum in situations both real and simulated is to have something like a Dear Abby column, or some other way of anonymously submitting some questions or problems that they may be experiencing, and either getting expert advice on ways to handle it or getting peer-to-peer advice on how that problem has been handled in other people's teams.
Now, we all know how to be good team members and how to teach. Some of us are better than others at teaching team skills and knowing all the different tricks, but we still need the students to be motivated. So our idea is to have them create professional skill portfolios where they would start in their first year and report on the team activities that they are in, the training that they got, what worked, what didn't work, how they feel about it, and most importantly, what will they transfer to their next course. This would be a portfolio that they would keep throughout their curriculum in their program, and it could also be, and it could be something that they can distill for sharing at a job interview.
So finally, if you look through all of these different scenarios here, the integration, the simulation, the help, and the wrap up with this professional skills portfolio, as a faculty member, what you kind of maybe see is, boy, we sure need some help. And so, I think the final way to wrap it up would be some turnkey materials to help the faculty members who are both working with teams, teaching teams, and learning how to be even better team members themselves along the way as they go through these scenarios. As been mentioned, teaming is very experiential, is very context specific, and what we pose as a good context inside the classroom is not the same context they're going to see in the professional world. So the real goal that we're looking for here as we think through, so let me put this down here, as we think through what our potential dream scenario here for building effective teams and teaching students, kind of wraps up with a few different things. Number one would be if we have students who are trained in teaming and they're learning through self-assessment and learning through peer evaluation and being critical of themselves, both good and bad, we can look to faculty to have more effective teams, and faculty actually enjoy team building exercises more because it's now they have a little bit more support. They're not on their own. They're not just trying to wing it and do crisis management. They're actually building on the positives and not worrying so much about the negatives. The next one would be the big thing that we see as a context, as was displayed here, is transferability. We all have good ideas of what makes a good team. That doesn't mean we always practice them. How do we know our students are going to practice them from freshman year to senior year? And then more importantly, as they go on, how are we going to ensure that these skills are developed and maintained? And so the wrap-up as a portfolio is a way for them to continually assess and maintain their proficiency, as well as increase their knowledge of how to be an effective team member. The third one is students who are trained in team dynamics. Lots of different scenarios require lots of different responses, and students tend to be a little bit more on the quiet side, sometimes passive aggressive. They don't want to explain their feelings or their notion of what's going on to their peer members, and this needs to be something that needs to be trained into them, that this is okay, it's helpful, it's beneficial to you, and it's beneficial to your team, and you need to take advantage of these resources and learn how to do this because it's a lifelong skill. And then most importantly, I'd say as a dream assessment would be employers come back to us as faculty members and say, man, your students are phenomenal working on teams. What are you doing differently? They know how to get in here, they know how to be busy, they know how to be productive, and we know that we can work effectively with the students you're producing. That's it.
plagiarism because they worked on a team and they were not supposed to work on a team. The problem is, in industry, we always work on a team when we wrote programs. When we go to the first class and we tell them, hey, don't work on a team. So how do we, go around that in the curriculum?
Well, what I would say to that is, it is unforgivable of us to think that a team in a learning environment is the same kind of team you will have in industry. You will not have peers. You will have, somebody will be in charge, and There will be clear rules of engagement. So we have to remember that our teams are learning environments and not just a way to get a job done.
I'm wondering what theory for teamwork you would want to espouse or teach, and who has the expertise or background to educate the students in that area?
So there are a lot of competing theories and actually complementary theories about teamwork. As the director of a leadership program, I run into these all the time. You don't find many that directly contradict one another, and so the way I tend to see it is many of them say the same concepts in different language. And I see nothing wrong with picking empirically derived team theories that work for you. So there are lots of different options. I wouldn't commit to one being right over the others.
So do you have a model, though, where your center educates faculty so that they can trickle down and then educate teams? Or do you see your center educating the teams directly?
So right now, because my center is new, we're working more directly with the teams, with the student teams themselves. Our goal eventually is to engage faculty in this for practical reasons, if nothing else, for scalability.